All right, this is my second session with Noxie. She's a 5-year-old Arabian mare. She's a rescue, was previously completely untouched and essentially wild. And so we're just today reviewing some things we did in our last session to kind of get her into the flow of things. And I'm sorry you won't be hearing my clicks because it was insanely windy when I recorded this, and the sound of the wind is unbearable. So I've muted the video sound, but every time you see me give her a reward, a click came just before it. So if you're wondering what's going on there with the click, the sequence is behavior, click, reward. To start with, I'm just walking around and rewarding her for following me. I would like it to be an ingrained behavior that when I come into a space, she just comes and approaches me so that I don't have to go catch her in the future. When she goes out in the big pasture, I can just, walk in there and have her approach me. Or if I need to do anything with her, she's, willingly following me. So every single time that I interact with her, I reward her for following me. Noxie came to me from the rescue heavily pregnant, and she is very close to foaling. And I've noticed that as she gets closer, she kind of moves a little bit slower. Everything about her is just slower paced, just relaxed, chill. And so she's pausing a bit before approaching me, but she's still approaching me. So that's a win. I will take it. When she doesn't get as close as I'd like, I just take a few steps to encourage her to come in closer. And as soon as she comes in nice and close, she gets her click and reward. If she stays too far back, she gets nothing, so she learns that she needs to be within a certain distance of me to get that reward. We worked on reinforcing the following behavior for about 15 minutes. I won't bore you with the whole footage. You can see how I started working on that in a previous video if you go back and see session 1. But my main focus today was acclimating her to the rope halter. So Noxie has only been haltered once, and that was when we brought her home from the rescue, and I kept the halter on her for the first week or so that I could easily get a hold of her because I knew it was going to be difficult to get a halter on her if I took it off. So now that she's become familiar with me and we're getting to know each other and she's becoming easier to handle and more accepting of touch, I took the halter off. And so now I am familiarizing her with the rope halter and shaping it so that I can put the halter on her without any stress on her part. What I'm doing here is I'm just holding the rope halter out, and if she touches it, she gets a click and a reward. And that's just to let her know that this thing is positive. She doesn't need to be afraid of it, and that it's okay for it to touch her nose. There's a few times here where I tried to kind of move the nose band up over her nose, and that was silly of me. I went too soon. I pushed a bit too hard there. She wasn't a fan of that. So I cut that out and just went back to allowing her to touch the halter with her nose on her own and rewarding that. I would like to eventually have it where I can hold out the halter and have her just put her nose right through and essentially halter herself. So I really want to spend a good amount of time building a positive association with the rope halter. Now here she's looking like she's had enough with the rope halter and she's starting to kind of shift away and avoid it. So I decide that I'm going to go back to a behavior that she's good with and take a break from the rope halter to kind of give her a chance to decompress. And so I go back to rewarding her for following me to kind of give her a little bit of a break from the new thing that we're working on. Now that Noxie has had a break from working on the halter and we've decompressed a little bit by working on a more familiar behavior, I'm back to holding out the rope halter for her to touch with her nose, and every time she reaches out to touch it, she gets a click and a treat. I'm also just holding the open nose band up to her nose, not putting it over her nose, but holding it up in front of her nose. She's not ready for that, so I go back to holding it out for her to touch, and she gets a click and a reward. We worked on this for about 10 minutes. I won't bore you with the entire footage because, it's just a bunch of repetition again and again. Needless to say, she got the idea that she should be touching the rope halter with her nose, and she started offering up the behavior pretty quickly. Rapid succession. And when an animal starts to offer behavior in rapid succession, that's when you know that they understand what you want from them. So I was happy with that. And then I decided to work on putting the tie part of the halter over her neck to get her used to that. The very first one she was not happy about, but I gave her some extra rewards and then just gently touched her neck with the rope. And if she didn't walk away from me, I gave her a click and a reward. I also rewarded her while the rope was still over her neck, and then rewarded her after I pulled the rope off of her neck. So the placing over was rewarded and the removing was rewarded. Then with the rope over her neck, I start extending the nose band towards her nose. She's a little avoidant of it, but I reward her anyway because she's not leaving me, she's not walking away, and I want her to develop a positive association with the nose band. And then because she's avoidant, instead of extending it right out to her face, I kind of hold it out a little bit and let her turn her nose towards it instead, because I don't want to reinforce the behavior of turning her face away from me when I'm haltering her. And then we're finished, and we end with her favorite reward, which is a bucket of Timothy alfalfa cubes that's been soaked and with her favorite supplements added to it. So she gets her bucket, and then she's a happy horse.